Hi friends, welcome back to Julia at Home. Today I'm going to talk about how I celebrate the winter solstice for myself and with my kids. The winter solstice is a holiday that doesn't have to be religious. So you could be any religion or no religion and still celebrate the winter solstice. It is simply the shortest day of the year, or the longest night of the year, depending how you think about it. I'm in Vermont, which is in the United States, which is in the Northern Hemisphere, and so we have our winter solstice coming up on December 21st. In the Southern Hemisphere, the winter solstice is at the end of June, so my Southern Hemisphere friends are going into summer right now, so this won't be as relevant for you until 6 months from now. But because it is simply about the seasons turning, what the sun is doing, it's the shortest day and then the days are going to get longer again. Again, you can be a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, an atheist, agnostic, whatever you are, and you can still celebrate the winter solstice. So here is what I do. I have been celebrating the winter solstice for, really since my kids were born, I guess. I've been more thoughtful about it. I probably also did things before them, but I wasn't quite as thoughtful about it. When I started having kids, I wanted to create traditions around it. So I'm going to share some of those with you today. Since this is a Julia at Home video, I'm starting with books. I love books. And here, I'll start with this one here. Most of these are picture books. This is The Shortest Day. Sorry for the glare. This is by Wendy Pfeiffer. Speaking of the shortest time of year, I am filming while it is dark out because I just don't have a lot of sunlight these days. It gets dark here at 4:30, so girl's gotta film when she's gotta film. So, sorry, Shortest Day, Wendy Pfeiffer, and this is it's informational, but it's not like dry. The information is told as a story, as part of a picture book. So it's more informational than some of these others, but it tells you what it is scientifically, what is the winter solstice, and how people have celebrated it. This one is The Shortest Day by Susan Cooper, illustrated by Carson Ellis. This is a newer one, and this is a poem that has been illustrated, and it's beautiful. I'll show you inside a little bit. Each page in this one doesn't have a lot of words because it is a poem. This is like a myth or a folk tale. It's called The Solstice Badger, and it is about the badger like getting back the sun who's disappeared. So yeah, it's a fun story. The Solstice Badger. Here we go. This one is beautiful. This is Winter Solstice Story. This is about a bunch of animals who are like spreading the light. They keep talking and repeating about spreading the light for solstice, which is just really, it's so dark this time of year. That's what a lot of stories and thoughts are, and traditions are about, sharing light in the dark time. So that's another great one. Well, I like these all. That's why I'm sharing them with you. This is another one I think is newer to me. I got last year. This is Share Some Kindness, Bring Some Light. And I don't know if this has to be specifically for solstice. This could also just be a good winter book. But it's about a little girl and a bear, and the bear's trying to make friends. And they're just sharing kindness and bringing light. And it's a cute story. And I really like the ending, but I'm not going to give it away. Sunbread. This is a favorite of mine. I love to pull this out each year. It is about, so the sun goes away and the animals, they're like anthropomorphized animals, are concerned, and so the dog, who's a baker, bakes sunbread, and it brings the sun back. And in the back there's a recipe for sunbread. I haven't tried this recipe yet, so I may do that this year. We'll see. I'm going to talk about sunbread or a variation of it a little bit later, but it could be really fun to read this and make the recipe with the kids, and I might do that this year. Okay, this last one is not a picture book. This is a collection of short stories. It's called The Return of the Light, 12 Tales from Around the World for the Winter Solstice. And it is just that. It's a collection of tales. It says it's from It's 12 traditional tales from North America, China, Scandinavia, India, Africa, South America, Europe, and Polynesia. And yeah, there's not a lot of, there's like some small pictures at the beginning of them, but that's, so this is one, I haven't read all of them, but I've read a few of these to the kids, especially the older ones. It's definitely like, it's not really, they're a little long, so they may not hold the attention of the younger ones, but I appreciate it. There's probably others. If you know of them, let me know. Those are what I have here, and so what I'm sharing with you. And I generally just pull those out a couple weeks before, or really at the beginning of December, and we'll read through them leisurely leading up to the winter solstice. I might have one or two that I read to them on the winter solstice, but I'm not just like saving the whole stack for the day of. And likewise, we do some crafts and such leading up to it. And now we don't do all of these every year. There's one thing I do every year, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But I mean, I pull the books out, but we're not necessarily, you know, reading all of them every day or anything like that. And these crafts, some years I do more than others, depending on what's going on, my energy level and stuff. One is bringing like decorations, so bringing in greenery. A lot of things that are considered Christmas decorations could also be winter solstice decorations, but the things you want to think about are greens from outside and berries. I generally don't bring in berries from outside because most of them that are around this time of year are poisonous for us, but I get fake berries in some places. But you could bring in, you know, evergreen boughs like garlands and such. It's very winter solstice-y. Also light, because it is a dark time of year, having the light. So I have these little, I have battery operated fake candles all over. I also like real candles, but I use those more sparingly because, you know, children. And also I like to leave these on overnight in my windows. And I also have more different battery operated ones just around the house. Yeah, and to leave these in the windows all night, I'm not going to leave a real candle, nor would I recommend it. This doesn't get hot. So I like these. And another thing I use as decoration, but is also a craft I'm going to get into, is oranges, because they kind of look like the sun. So it's about bringing back the sun and bringing back light. So this year we made orange pomanders, which is when you take the orange and you poke cloves in it, usually in a pattern. And my preschooler saw somebody else doing this and wanted to try it, and we had such a good time. It was so relaxing. Yeah, and even having to help my children a little bit, but even the 3-year-old and 5-year-old, they didn't need a lot of help. Once we started and once I showed them and they tried a couple, they were on it. I'm actually going to have to get more oranges because they want to do more. I didn't realize they would like it so much, and I found it super relaxing, so I highly recommend that craft. They also smell really good. We also did some dried orange slices. Going here to show you. These ones, they turned out okay. This one's pretty good. I just do it in my oven. I don't have a dehydrator. I think they would turn out better in a dehydrator. But yeah, I just did it at like 200 degrees Fahrenheit in my oven for several hours. I kept an eye on them. I did flip them at some point because they were on a baking tray. Probably would also be better if they were on a, like a baking rack or a cooling rack on the tray. But I did this and I flipped them. Those are some crafts that are great to do, and they can be used. I think we're going to put the ones we just did in a window display, because then they look, the light shines through them and they're really pretty. Another craft you can do involves like making little lanterns. This is actually one that my daughter made at our congregation, but this is just like a little candle jar. I'm getting a battery operated one. You could put a real candle in here too, honestly. And then this is like tissue paper that's been Mod Podged on here. And I've done this before with like mason jars or old, like honestly saving jars like tomato sauce jars and stuff. It's fun to do that. And you can also use natural items like pressed flowers and stuff. You could use that as well, and that'd be beautiful. And if you get some like wire, you can put it around the top of the jar and actually carry it around as a little lantern. It's a super, super cute craft. And the last craft that we haven't done yet this year, but I want to, is to make the pine cone bird feeders. So you just put, if you have suet, you can use suet or peanut butter on pine cones and then put bird seed on that. And then with a little twine or string that's safe for birds. You don't really want to use like fishing line or something like that. That's not good for wildlife. You go hang them in like a tree. and hopefully the birds enjoy it. We also have bird feeders, and I need to put them out, actually. We generally wait until December here to put them out so we don't attract bears. I have tons of edible plants, though, so I'm not sure that rule applies to me, but I don't want to risk it, so I generally wait until December. I'd like December through March. We'll have our bird feeders out, so I just need to, I think it's in the garage, so I need to put that out. But that's not necessarily a solstice thing, that's just a winter thing, but it is nice to think of our wildlife friends around the solstice when it is cold and there's not as much food. Okay, so those are things we do really leading up to solstice, and they're just fun activities, but I really want to share with you what I do on the morning of the solstice. This is the thing that I've been doing every year for more than 10 years, and so it's my ritual for the winter solstice. And this is for me, and people are invited to join me if they're going to do so calmly and kindly, and sometimes they do. Most of the time it's just me. I get up before the sun, which is super easy this time of year. It's harder for the summer solstice, but for the winter solstice, it comes up so late, it's super easy to get up before it. And I give myself enough time that I can make my version of sun or star bread. It's not really bread. So I use just pre-made pastry dough. If you do this, you do want to make sure it needs some time to thaw. So I usually leave it in the fridge overnight. And then I do one layer and I do a middle. And I do multiples. So I do a savory and I do a sweet. So my sweet is usually cinnamon sugar. And my savory, I've done like an olive tapenade, and I've done like a sun-dried tomato pesto before. And I think the original recipe that I used to make this was from Smitten Kitchen. And so I could be wrong, but I'm going to see if I can find the recipe that I originally used and link it below. It also comes with like a dip that you make with feta. It's delicious. And it's super fun to use sun-dried tomatoes that I've grown and dried. They're really oven-dried tomatoes that I've grown and dried myself. I'm tickled when I get to use my own things that I've grown from my garden. So that's super fun. But you obviously don't have to. It gives me personal pleasure. So I often use those whether I'm mixing with the olives or not. I think I got a little distracted in there with the recipe, but I have one layer of pastry dough down. I have my filling, and then I have another layer of pastry dough. And then what I do is I'll use something as a circle to keep a circle in the middle, and I'll cut strips around, and then twist them. And depending on how you twist them, it ends up looking kind of like a star or like a circular sun. So it's sun or star bread. And I've been doing that every year. Then depending on my timing and how I'm doing with this, I either when the bread is in the oven or the bread is cooling, I watch the sunrise. So I make sure I check what time sunrise is so that I can make sure I see it. When I used to live in Maryland, I used to walk down to a lake. It was a very short walk. We lived near a lake, and I would go watch from the dock down there. Here where we live, we actually have a great view of the sunrise from our front porch, and it's generally quite cold here this time of year. So I usually watch from the front porch, and I'll actually, if the bread's in the oven, like kind of go back and forth a little bit. I'll watch the sunrise, which is really nice. And then usually once the sun is up, we'll eat the bread, but we don't have any lights on in the house, and we'll eat by candlelight. So that is my ritual that I always do and for winter solstice morning, and I absolutely love it. Now, another thing I like to do, and we'll be doing this year, I haven't always done in the past, but I have sometimes, is while we're eating the bread, we can talk about things from this past year that we might want to leave behind or let go of, and things that we're looking forward to or want to encourage in the coming year. So it's just a time to reflect and look ahead, kind of just a new year kind of meditation. And so I have intentions to do that this year. Another thing that I've done, but not every year, is connected to asking those questions, is just doing a little meditation or prayer, or like making a vision board. I've done it in a bullet journal before, where I've done a spread on my vision for the next year, and I've like cut out pictures of both, myself and my family, and also things that I've found on like Pinterest that are inspiring to me, and I'll make little notes about what I want in the upcoming year. And that can work for however you do you. really, with the meditation or prayer or vision boarding or whatever works for you. It's just kind of thinking about what you want in the coming year as the light comes back. A couple things that I haven't actually done but would like to try is one, doing a fire. You could do like a bonfire or a fire pit, depending, obviously safety first, if you can safely do that. And it, for me, partially depends on weather and partially on like the energy I have with the kids that I have. My youngest is 3 right now, so we might be just about to the point where I can do that. We do fires sometimes during the summer. And so it would kind of, we haven't really done one during the winter before, so weather dependent, it could be kind of fun to bundle up and then make a fire, stand by a fire on the winter. And the other thing, which I don't think needs to be done on the solstice, but could be fun, it seems connected to me, is wassailing. Now, it's an old English thing, and I think wassail is also the name of like a mulled cider, but basically it involves cider and apple trees or orchards, and my understanding, I am not an expert on this, my understanding is that you spill out some cider at the base of an apple tree to thank the tree in the orchard for the fruits of this past year and to give back to it for the fruits of the coming year. That's my understanding of what it. There's also like wassailing carols, things you can sing. So yeah, I think that would be super fun. And also our fire pit's not far from our home orchard, so we could do those. We could do those both, And what if you could heat up a mulled cider over a fire and then wassail? That sounds like a good day to me. And the last thing I want to mention is rest. I know I just listed a bunch of things you could do. However, it is the dark time of the year. A lot of animals hibernate, sleep more because it is dark out so much, and also where we are, it's cold. So we're inside. It's really a time of like inwardness, of reflection, and of rest. And so if you can find some time for yourself, for your kids to rest, do that. I'm also going to try to keep that in mind. It's really hard at this time of year because there's just like so much going on. And we as parents and as moms especially work really hard to make this holiday season special for everyone around us. And so even if you can only take like half an hour on the winter solstice to sit, to meditate, or just watch a TV show or read, whatever resting is or looks like for you, then I encourage you to do that. I'm going to try to do that this year too. I hope there were some good ideas in there for you. There's also, you can go online and look up winter solstice food. I often like to do wintry foods like stews and soups and hand pies and things like that is what I think of. And you could do like a Yule log cake. I've tried that in the past. I might try it again. It doesn't always turn out well, but it's worth a try, and it usually tastes delicious. And then there's like winter solstice music you can usually find. I will link one. I just got one on Kickstarter. I got a CD with some winter solstice music from Windborn, so I will link that below. Yeah, there's so many things you could do. So if you celebrate, let me know, and you can let me know if there's any books or music or food that you especially love. Always looking for recommendations. I hope you all stay cozy and warm and healthy and safe in this dark time of the year. Talk to you soon, friends. Bye.